So I finally got round to watching The Eternals, a movie that has garnered the reputation of being the worst film from the MCU. And what did I think of it? Well, let's start off with the things that I liked. I liked the cinematography in some parts of the movie. The colours did not really elevate it. I still thought the colours lacked a certain artistic richness that other comic book movies have. But even so, this is the first MCU movie to consistently have some good looking cinematography. And it's the first MCU film in years to finally use some big practical locations this time round. And that's it for the stuff I liked. As for the stuff I didn't like, well, everything else. First of all, the characters. This has got to be the most dull and boring group of characters that I have seen in a comic book movie since Fan 4 Stick. They have no chemistry with each other despite knowing each other for thousands of years. Salma Hayek's character is meant to be the one that all the characters love, like their motherly figure or something, and I just don't buy their connection. Angelina Jolie's character has this illness where she loses control and starts fighting her team for some reason, and they mention why, but they drop that bit of information so quickly that if you blink, you'll miss it. The Indian Alfred, as they so poorly describe him, was pointless, and I don't even know why he was here. He was just another MCU comic relief. Oh yeah, that's why. The best of the Eternals is Druig, mainly because he does what the Eternals should have frickin' done, and also because he is apparently going to play the Joker in Matt Reeves' The Batman franchise. And I was analysing his performance to see if he was a good pick, and he does have potential as he has a slightly sinister and strange looking smile at times. The movie also constantly delivers plot information to us and is delivered in such a dull, flat, and non-caring way that you don't feel surprised or like you have learned something shocking. And the characters don't act surprised either. They act like, whatever. I was 54 minutes into this movie and I couldn't take it anymore. I picked up my phone and started reading comments on my Scream 5 review that I had just uploaded. The movie was just so boring that I felt like I had to take a break. And the romantic leads, even though there's no chemistry between the two characters, they speak to each other in a way that is so lifeless and you don't feel their connection at all. And there seems to be a love triangle in there for some reason, although no one told the third guy that there was a love triangle. And the movie's acting like these characters are so great and mighty, and aside from their powers that in one way or another, other heroes in the MCU already have, I don't see what's so mighty about them. I mean, we have seen powers like these before. They're called mutants from X-Men. I mean, one of them can run fast like Quicksilver, but she can't hear, so technically she has less abilities than Quicksilver, and the other can control people's minds just like Charles Xavier and Kilgrave, and one is stuck in a child's body, can turn invisible, and carries around an ordinary knife as her weapon. I mean, Miles Morales can go invisible and do a ton of other stuff too, so I don't see what's so great about the Eternals other than some of them have a slight power-up. Even the filmmaking was off. The editing felt like something out of a work print. The way it would cut from scene to scene was so sudden at times, and even the continuity didn't fit at points either. The movie constantly switches between IMAX shots and widescreen shots during an action scene that it doesn't feel like there is a structure to when it changes between them. The movie also constantly jumps back and forth between time, and it just felt very clunky whenever the film did it. And then we come to the CGI. Yeah, CGI in an MCU film. You know where I'm going with this. First off, the CGI blood is the fakest I have ever seen. The CGI hair looks so fake, even though older movies like Aquaman have made the floating CG hair look real. But do you know what? The CGI for most of the film wasn't good, but I was willing to just go with it. But then the film's climax happened, and the CGI during the entire climax is some of the worst CGI I have ever seen in an MCU movie. These are some of the fakest CGI character doubles I have seen, and what's worse is that they're using the CGI doubles for basic action that they could have shot with the actors, but they didn't bother to do that. They just did it all with CGI, because if CGI car crashes weren't enough, now Marvel don't even want to choreograph basic action scenes anymore. They just want to CGI those now as well. And of course, there is a bunch of fake looking green screen that should look real, but for some reason looks so fake despite the movie's $200 million budget. And then there's other CGI that looks like something that I would expect from someone at home using After Effects. I mean, look at this. This movie has a $200 million budget. With money like that, how does the CGI look this fake? Is this the kind of effect that Marvel is capable of creating with a big budget? Absolutely unforgivable. The movie also tries to be artsy with a Bollywood song and dance number, but it has no clue how to do it. Bollywood song numbers are normally so fast and full of energy and tons of dance choreography. This number lacked all of that and had no energy to it. I mean, my god, the fantasized Bollywood dance number that was most mostly done in English, and The Big Bang Theory did a far better job than this $200 million budget movie. And the music in this film was also so forgettable. And the music for the whole climax was just there, but it wasn't doing anything. It wasn't tragic, it wasn't even intense, it was just filler music. And the movie does make an attempt to discuss why the Eternals didn't stop Thanos and the other wars and disasters of history, and it still makes no sense. Apparently they are not supposed to interfere, but throughout the movie you are constantly seeing all of them break rules and interfere anyway, and from that point, it defeats the whole argument that they can't interfere, at which point they should have helped throughout all of these tragedies in history, so it still makes no sense. So, here's the billion-dollar question. If they couldn't interfere then, what gets the Eternals to finally start interfering even after they've been specifically told not to? Well, the big thing that makes them break their oath and not follow their orders is that the Eternals are trying to stop all life on Earth from being destroyed. And this is complete and utter bullshit, because Thanos in Endgame was going to use the Infinity Stones to kill all life on all worlds. So the bigger threat is not this movie, it was Thanos in Endgame. So why they didn't start interfering there but interfered here is beyond me. It's just bad writing, and the Eternals are very badly incorporated into this world and their storyline doesn't hold any water. What am I missing? Oh yeah, the villains. I feel like there were so many villains and no real villain at the same time. You have the space lizards or whatever they are, you also have the Celestials, and then you have evil Superman knockoff here. And it even felt like they tried to make the space lizards feel sympathetic, like are they villains or are they not? And then the movie just completely forgets about that plot point and it never fleshes it out. So you're just left feeling confused. So that's what it is, confusion. That doesn't mean the movie is dense as the early reviews were constantly saying about this film. Rather than just say it doesn't make any sense or it wasn't explained well, the early reviews were just saying it was dense, it was deep, I need to think about it, I can't give my opinions yet. Really, there's nothing to think about. The movie just has very bad storytelling. And the movie ended on a cliffhanger that made the whole film feel like an excuse just so they could set up a sequel. This movie is the MCU's equivalent of the horrible Inhumans show. It's that bad. There were some creative camera angles and cinematography at points, and that's why, instead of a 1, this movie gets a 2 out of 10. Oh, and the mid-credit scene, it felt more like a scene that was forced in just so Marvel could flex a new celebrity that they hired. Also, Thanos' brother. This is what Thanos' brother looks like. What the heck am I watching right now? And the after-credit scene could have been something cool, but they shot it in a way that's so random and thoughtless in its execution. A voice, really. That's how you're going to tease Blade. Marvel used to know how to make these credit scenes cool and exciting. Now it feels like they are just doing them for the sake of it, and you leave them feeling underwhelmed. The movie to me felt like a shittier version of that amazing animated show Invincible, complete with their evil Superman. They even reference Superman and even Batman in this, but they go hard on comparing Icarus to Superman.
Jack, that's Superman! Jack, that's Superman!
Jack, it's really funny, Jack.
No,
that is
no,
definitely not
he
Superman.
He is Superman, and you were with the cape, and you were shooting laser beams out of your eyes.
Can I call you Clark? Is that what you go by now?
So yeah, it feels like this is essentially Marvel's own Elseworld Justice League, complete with their evil Superman. But I think that shows like The Boys and Invincibles did a much better job of doing the evil Superman thing. Look, I usually criticize Marvel's overly comedic tone and the childish nature of the MCU, but I usually come out liking the heroes. I mean, aside from Captain Marvel, I usually come out thinking that the heroes, at worst, are okay. But then in their next appearance, I usually like them. Never before have I straight up not liked an MCU hero. That is until I met the Eternals. The Eternals have got to be some of the most boring superheroes I have ever seen on screen. I honestly have lost faith in the MCU even more than I did previously. This new path that the MCU are going down, it's not working for me. Aside from Hawkeye and Spider-Man No Way Home's last hour, Phase 4 of the MCU has really not impressed me. And honestly, this movie just reminded me why I took a break from the MCU in the first place. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Eternals. Comment below and let me know what you thought of this movie. Did you like it? And if so, what did you like about it? I just thought it was unbelievably dull. And this has just confirmed to me that the MCU don't know what to do if they don't make a comedy out of their heroes. That's why they made a comedian out of Thor with Thor Ragnarok, because they just couldn't get his movies to work when they were trying to be more serious like his character was in the comics. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up as it really does help, and click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And also, be sure to support me by donating just $1 on Patreon and you can gain access to additional content such as my reaction to the Moon Knight trailer, as well as spoiler discussions to movies. And I will see all of you next time. Take care.